Hello and welcome back to another NuclearCraft update video. We're looking at 1.9 now. Made this straight after the 1.8 episode, but I've just changed around a few things in the world. You can see there's lots of new stuff going on over there, and we're going to get into that now. 1.9 was actually a really good update for me. I really enjoyed 1.9 myself because it added loads of new fuels. You can see here, HEN. What is HEN? That's a new fuel. Here we got HEA. What is that? And an LEC. What's N, A, and C? Well, there is now in the mod Neptunium, Americium, Curium, and Californium, and we can see that if we go into the NuclearCraft, we go into Fuel Cell, you can see there are a huge number more fuel cells. All of these are new ones here, so more than double actually the number of fuel cells available in the game, which is absolutely awesome. So yeah, 21 new fission fuels. There used to be 19, so now there are 40 different fission fuels, which is crazy. TBU oxide has been added. That really needs to be added. I don't know why I didn't add that earlier. But then also 10 oxidized and 10 non-oxidized for the other fuels. And there are 4. Oh, hang on, where is it? So yeah, there are 4 new Neptunium fuels. So oxidized and non-oxidized Len and Hen, standing for low enriched Neptunium and high enriched Neptunium. There's then low enriched Americium and high enriched Americium and its oxides. And then there's quite a lot of Curium. There's low enriched Curium 243, high enriched Curium 243, and then Curium 245 and Curium 247 and all their oxides. So a lot of new fuels, a lot of new depleted fuels. A lot of the depleted fuel stuff has changed in 1.9 for the much better, I think. It's going to be quite interesting to see what people do with those and the setups that they can make. So yeah, here they are, all the new fuels, and to go with them obviously all the new fission materials, all the radioactive materials. So obviously first of all new thorium oxide and dusts, and then all the Neptunium and Americium and Curium, and finally down here Californium, which isn't made into fission fuel but is made into a really powerful Rtg generator, or RT generator. Also another thing that's happened, which is really, really nice, which really needs to be done, is the fission reactor will now use up fuel cells more cleverly. So what used to happen is that whenever you used up a cell, you had to wait, even if it was the same type of cell being used, you had to wait for this to be taken out, this product to be taken out before it would run again, which was quite annoying, especially if you were doing this manually. You'd have to keep going back to it and taking it out. But now you can literally put a whole stack in, and as you can see I've left this very close to being finished, and if you have a whole stack in there and you're about to complete a fuel, the fuel will get depleted, and as long as the depleted fuel matches the fuel about to be used next, it will just keep running and will keep adding to this stack. So now you can literally put a whole stack of fuel cells in there and it will just run indefinitely, which is really, really nice. I like that. So yeah, that's pretty simple. What else? So yeah, let's keep going. Added the fuel recycler. Okay, so this is quite a big change. It's called the Reprocessing Plant now, by the way, if you get confused about that. So yeah, the Reprocessing Plant, as you can see here, is the new way to process your depleted fuels. You no longer use the Isotope Separator. So as you can see here, now let's just go to an old fuel, see if we can find one. Here maybe. So yeah, HEP239, this is an old fuel. You can see here that the products have drastically changed. So now you get 242 oxide, 241. That's a bit strange. I don't know why you don't get 241 oxide. I must have made a mistake there. But who cares? That's not a very big mistake. And then Americium 242 and Americium 243. So you start to get these Americium, Neptunium, and Curium products in your area, from your decay products. Oh, sorry, from your fission products. And you can see there's a few major changes you probably want to know about. First of all, well, not changes, but things you probably want to know about are where to get the Rtg products from. First of all, the LEC 247 will give you Californium 250. I believe the HEC 247 will also give you Californium, as does the 245. So Californium 250 comes from 245 and 247 Curium cells, it looks like. So that's the way to get Californium. That's a really good material to get. The other thing you probably want to find is Americium 241, which I believe is up here. So you get that from LEP 241, So that's how you get americium. That can give you Rtg cells. And finally, the plutonium-238, which is what you need to make the original Rtgs, now come from, you can see it up here, now come from HEN236 fuel cells. And obviously you can track back, you can see what you need to make a HEN fuel cell, and you need Neptunium-237 and 236. How do you get Neptunium-236? You get it from the tiny lumps, which you get from LEU-235, TBU, LEU-233, HU-233, so quite a lot of different sources you can get the 236 from, and also the 237. So that's pretty good. So yeah, loads of new stuff that you probably want to search through and try to work out a new system for it. So it's all changed quite a lot, and hopefully that will be fun to work with. So yeah, there we go. Next, added Americium-241 and Californium-250 Rtgs. So here they are. You can see them here. Let's type in Rtg. You can see they've also got new textures as well, which is quite nice. I like the new textures. And that was because of that was not a request, but a sort of recommendation. So nice recommendation. So plutonium Rtg, that's the original, produces 100 RF per tick. The weak Rtg, which is the uranium one, produces 5 RF per tick. And then you've got the americium, which produces 40 RF per tick, so not as good as the plutonium, but still 40 RF per tick for free. It's pretty good. And then the big boy, which is Californium, is 500 RF per tick, which is a huge amount of energy if you think about it, just for free. It's really nice. But obviously it's very difficult to get as well, so you won't get too many of those unless you've got a huge setup. So yeah, there we go. Californium Rtgs. You can also see here we've got some new blocks. These are the voltaic pile and the lithium ion battery. These are their actual block forms of storage now in NuclearCraft. So if we look at voltaic pile, you can see that it can store 1000 kilo RF or 1 million RF. And the lithium ion battery stores 100 million RF, which is a lot of RF actually. And we can, hook these up with a resonant energy cell or something. Sorry, a resonant flux duct, and you can see, we just get the power through. So you can see here we're producing 40 RF per tick into the voltaic pile, and 500 RF per tick is going into the lithium ion battery. So they hook up quite nicely and simply. They're very simple blocks, but they are quite nice. So here we go. This is just something about how they work. So it says here, if we look on the voltaic pile or the lithium ion batteries, they work in basically the same way. You can see here it says right click on a side without sneaking to change the side mode to input, output or disabled. So first of all of the sides by default are set to input mode, and that's the blue ring around here. You can see that sort of blue ring, but if you right click you're going to get into output mode, and that gives you the red ring, and then right click again, it gives you disabled mode, which is just a sort of black grey ring. So input mode means it will accept power from that side, output means it will give out power from that side, and disabled means it won't do anything on that side. So for example, what we can do here is we can show up this off by just having a loop of energy. So this voltaic pile is the one that's got all of the power at the moment, but we can output the power through this edge by just changing the side. So you can see there, all the power just flown into this voltaic pile. You can see that one's got all the power now, and we can turn this back on again, and we can pass the power back because this is now in input mode. We can pass it back like that, and all the power's gone back into there, and then we can perhaps try to output power this way, and you can see it does it perfectly. There we go. And just to show off, first of all, if we have this on output mode and this on output mode, then all the power is going to get stuck in this flux duct, and even if it's on disabled mode, again, nothing will happen. But if we put this to input mode, then all the power will flow back in there. If we go into disabled mode, no power will flow. So it's all very simple and intuitive, so hopefully you can understand how that works. Where's all the power gone? Oh, there it is. So yeah, it all works in the end, so it's a nice, simple system. You just right click on site and change the mode, and it all works nicely. So that we go. That's the new storage blocks in the mod, and obviously you can chain these up. So you can put this into output mode, place another one down, put this side onto the output mode, place another one down. You could make like a big snake of storage batteries that all hook up to each other, which is quite nice. The other thing to mention is if you try to break these with a pickaxe. So yeah, if we break this with a pickaxe, any pickaxe, you'll see that we get the power stored in the block still. So you can see there, energy full there. So it retains the energy it has, which is quite nice. I think it also retains the side options as well. So if these are all output sides, let's make that a disabled. If we break this and put it back, it will retain those side options. So that's that. Pretty simple. Okay, so next thing I want to show off is that the reaction generator, this has all been updated now, so the reaction generator can now only use universal reactant in this slot, so that's been like that for a little while now, and that's highlighted by this little graphic here. And also this has been fixed. There was a graphic here that showed fuel cells need to be used, but that's now been fixed. You can only use in here, you can't, as you can see, you can't use like actual nuclear fuels in this anymore. You can only use crushed thorium oxide, thorium ingots, and thorium oxide ingots, and also the same for uranium ingots and dust. You can only use those now. So you can't use any like actual nuclear fuels. You have to use the basic uranium and thorium. So yeah, that's done now. And the electrolyzer, this is just to show off that you can only use empty fluid cells now. You can no longer use water fluid cells in these recipes. You can only use empty fluid cells because water is now used up in the actual machine. Okay, now moving on to the big gun, the steam fusion reactor. So this is new in 1.9. As you can see, it's a pretty big setup I've got here. These work in exactly the same way as the old fusion reactors do, or the RF producing fusion reactors. The only difference is that they produce steam. That is literally it. They still need power to warm up. They can still have mechanism fuel. They work in exactly the same way, except they produce steam. And the steam they produce is entirely dependent on the size of the reactor and the fuel combination, not the efficiency. If the reactor is capable of producing a lot of steam, it will probably produce dense or super dense steam. If it's probably only going to produce a tiny amount of steam, then it will produce normal steam. And I think the exact numbers are, if it produces more than 2,000 millibuckets per tick, it's going to produce dense steam, and if it produces over like 500,000 millibuckets per tick, it's going to create super dense steam. So I think that's the numbers roughly. Most of the time you're going to be producing dense steam. And then I've got the dense steam coming through these pipes, and I've got them going into all of these steam decompressors. I think I've got 60 here, and the reason I've got 60 is because this reactor is producing roughly 120,000 millibuckets per tick. It's producing roughly 100 millibuckets per tick of... it's producing roughly 120,000 millibuckets per tick of steam. Each steam decompressor uses up 2,000 millibuckets per tick of steam. Or produces that much, so it uses up 2 millibuckets of dense steam per tick, and this, because it's producing dense steam, is going to be producing 108 roughly millibuckets of dense steam per tick. So I'm going to need roughly 60 steam decompressors, which is what I've got here. Then they're all hooked up to steam generators, as you can see. Very simple, all hooked up to steam generators. And then they're all hooked up to resonant flux ducts, which gets plugged into this vibrant capacitor bank. And I might just try to see if I can do this actually. Yeah, so I'm going to just quickly charge up these things to get rid of some power, just so I can show you how much power this is actually producing. As you can see, producing roughly 240,000 or 230,000 RF per tick overall, because some of the power is being looped back, as you can see at the back here, being looped back into the electromagnets to power the electromagnets. But overall this is producing a huge amount of power, as I say, roughly 240,000 RF per tick. And that's because we're using steam, which is a lot more efficient, producing about 50% more RF per tick. So that's the steam fusion reactor, which is pretty cool. So moving back into the fission realm, a lot of isotope separator recipes would change. If we just look at LEU, if we go into the isotope separator, you can see a lot of the recipes. There's a lot of new recipes. So lots and lots of recipes, which is pretty cool. But you can also see that there's no depleted fuel recipes anymore. They've all moved into the fuel recycler. What else? A lot of decay hastener recipes have changed. Well, I say changed. A lot have been added. the curium goes down to plutonium, and lots of different stuff. You can check through all these in NEI. So lots of new recipes related to all the new radioactive materials. Lots of new fission recipes, obviously, because of all the new fission fuels. As an EMP bomb, now the EMP bomb is pretty devastating, actually. I'm going to quickly make a copy of this world. I just want to show you how devastating this can actually be. Now there is actually a slight problem with the EMP. First of all, it's not craftable because it's not really finished. But second of all, for some reason, again, Ender.io, I can't seem to work out why, but Ender.io capacitors are just not affected by it. I don't know why that is. It's just really weird. They're just not affected by it at all. Everything else is. So I don't know what's wrong with Ender.io. It's a bit different. So let's copy this 1.9 world. Make a copy of it. Here it is. And let's show off this thing. So the EMP, or the EMP, basically just removes all RF from nearby machines. So it's pretty devastating. I'm going to plant it right in the middle of this fusion setup here. This should hopefully be quite interesting. So let's go to lever. For goodness sake. Okay, let's get a redstone block. So the texture doesn't work, don't worry about that, it's, as I said, not finished. But if we move back, for some reason the sounds in like Minecraft are very weird. But there it is. You have 30 seconds to run away, because this thing is really, really good for wars, because you can go right into someone's base and blow up their fusion reactor in a really quite unique way by getting rid of all the power. So you'll see here that all the power will disappear from all the blocks, and it makes a little sound, and suddenly everything goes mental because all the power's been lost. So that is a devastating weapon, which is awesome. I love this weapon. And suddenly the base is engulfed in flames and plasma, which is pretty awesome actually. I like that. So there we go, that's the EMP, a new way of blowing up someone's base in quite a unique way. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know if there's other things in other mods which require power to be supplied at all times. I guess if someone has a really massive storage system, you could get rid of it all. But as I said, Ender.io doesn't seem affected by it. As I said, and this block has a 50 block radius, so it should have touched this, but it just didn't at all. And that's why this whole setup was absolutely fine. So yeah, it doesn't seem to touch Ender.io, which is quite annoying. Hopefully that will just automatically get fixed without me doing anything in 1.10. If it doesn't, I'll ask the mod author about it. But yeah, there we go. That's the EMP, which is pretty good fun. I like that. Let's get rid of this world. It's a bit laggy. Okay, so that's just basic 1.9. Oh yeah, another thing that got removed is the annoying message that used to get placed when you place down generators. That's now been removed. Removed some ICT recipes and made some other changes. Blah blah blah. Okay, so let's move on to 1.9a. Fixed sometimes the fusion reactors. If you had Railcraft installed, it would generate these special sort of tracking air blocks. So now the reactor can deal with that. What used to happen is sometimes the reactor would take an abnormally long time to recognize the structure, and that's because it was searching for specifically vanilla air blocks, and sometimes you'd have these special aura blocks stuck in here. So any custom air blocks would block the reactor off. But now that's been fixed, so it just searches for the air material rather than the block. So that should now fix any of the problems with the fusion reactor not forming the structure. And I know a lot of people had that problem actually. Remove the electrolyzer water cell recipe. Yes, we've had a look at that already. Change the Rtg textures. You can see they've got these nice textures now. And there's some name change and typo fixes. 1.9b added a config option to modify the work rates of steam generators and decompressors, so you can change sort of just how quickly this uses up dense steam and how quickly this generates RF and stuff like that. You can change those. Vastly improved the mechanism to deal with the fake air blocks again. So I tried to find a fix in 1.9a, and then I found an even better fix in 1.9b. So that's now better. So there's lots of fixes in 1.9b. Fixed machines acting weirdly when the configs were messed around with. So if you change the speed or efficiency of machines, some of the machines used to act really weirdly. But now that's been fixed. It was a very simple fix. Fix the steam fusion reactor showing the wrong numbers in the GUI. It used to show the fake steam in this bar, but now it actually shows the amount of steam in the actual internal tank, which is what we wanted. Fixed americium and Californium Rtgs dropping plutonium Rtgs by accident. That was a simple fix. It was just a copy and paste error. Fixed the assembler recipe conflicts. There was some more recipe conflicts. I think this one was between reinforced plate and reactor casing. So that's now been fixed. Modified the reaction generator's GUI image. So yeah, that's that up here to make it more clear that it only uses those fuels. What else? Fixed active blocks giving wrong blocks when picked in creative mode. So yeah, what used to happen is, for example, if we pick this active electromagnet, we get the active form, but now you can see we actually get the correct form. We get the off electromagnets, and that's the same for every machine now. So for example, if I turn this reactor on, I used to get the on version of the reactor, but now I actually get the proper off one, which is nice. What else have we got going on? And updated the language files, and most specifically updated the Chinese language file, thanks to Canonfodder for that. And that's pretty much everything on 1.9. And this is the final, as I said, the final major update for 1.7.10, and we're starting to move towards 1.10. I've got a basic plan set out. The first update I want to just be a direct port, or maybe the first few updates we'll just try to be porting stuff over. And then, depending on how well that goes, we'll start moving into adding some actual new stuff, mainly to do with synchrotrons, and also trying to make the steam fission reactors better. And I want to add a proper steam turbine generator, and I want to add molten salt reactors and all of this sort of cool stuff. So a lot of good plans coming up, and hopefully it'll be really good fun. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for playing the mod, and I'll see you next time.